Hi everyone, I'm Noina Banerjee and I lead marketing and communication for Dun Bradstreet India. I'm extremely happy to announce the launch of Dun Bradstreet CFO Club, which is an exclusive knowledge sharing and peer-to-peer networking and learning platform. With a bird's eye view of a business, CFOs today need to guide operational and business unit to deliver against the strategy they have defined. CFOs is increasingly expected to help everyone make the right decision and maintain the balance between top line and bottom line. Dun & Bradstreet CFO Club is an initiative to create a community of finance leaders from India's top companies who will discuss and decipher the keys to business transformation through finance. The member of Dun & Bradstreet CFO Club will also get an access to special interviews, webinars, roundtable conferences, reports, and newsletter. To kickstart the launch of Dun & Bradstreet CFO Club, we have with us today Mr. Saurabh Shah, Director of Finance of Dun & Bradstreet India. Saurabh, welcome to the first interview of Dun & Bradstreet CFO Club called CFO In Focus. Let's start.
Thank
Saurabh,
you,
as
Navneet.
we all know, that the main challenges we all are facing is COVID-19 pandemic. So we start with the challenges. What are the challenges that you are facing at this point of time? If you could just tell our viewers.
Sure. And before that, Noina, congratulations on the launch. I think this is going to be a really good vehicle for all the CFOs across the country to just sort of learn from each other and gain insights. So congratulations. I'm glad to be here. To your question, Noina, I think this pandemic has made us see and experience things that we obviously didn't really realize we would in our lifetime, right? This is unprecedented, and I'm sure everyone, including me, have had to go through a lot of learning, and I think the learning is for the better now, right? Just makes you that much more aware, that much more confident about the future. I think in terms of the challenges, Noina, that you asked, I think first and foremost has been the challenge to just survive. When this hit, right, you didn't really know what to expect. You did hear about the pandemic sort of coming and impacting some of the other countries, but you really only felt it when we saw it around us, right? So from that perspective, you were in a very uncertain territory. So I think that was the very first challenge, right? Like how to deal with this uncertainty. It became very difficult to also look at all the information that was out there and understand what to gain from that, right? What insight to gain from that. And I think just generally you've seen a lot of experts start talking about what to expect, the number of cases going up, when will we start seeing the lockdown, coming out of the lockdown. So there's a lot of chatter around that, and just becomes very difficult to understand from that what you really need to gain insight from, right? So I think those couple of things really played key, sort of a key challenge, if I may, in the initial phase. Coming back to the survival point, right? I think cash and liquidity has become the most important thing in the last few months. I think before that, when it was the pre-COVID era, everything was business as usual, right? A lot of the CFOs, I can talk for myself, from a collections perspective, from a cash flow management perspective, I think it was all pretty much on autopilot. So I didn't really have to focus on that as much. A lot of my time was being spent on supporting the business and looking at strategy and just seeing where the next quarter, the next 6 months, how we're going to fare from a revenue, a bottom line perspective, right? With the pandemic, cash has now become front and center, and obviously liquidity as a result, right? So I think that has been the ultimate challenge for everyone. Thankfully for us, we have we are in sort of few different segments, within the company, right? And part of our business is quite sticky, I would say. But I have seen significant impact on the other parts of the business. So for all of it to be managed, as one whole, and then look at it from a liquidity and a cash flow management perspective became very important. Because on one hand, I had certain businesses which were doing relatively okay, but there were certain businesses which really took an impact. So I think one of the biggest challenge was, uh, as I said, liquidity, because I know the position that I'm in, a lot of the other companies would be in the same position, right? They would also start focusing on their cash flow management, which may mean that my vendors are asking me for payments quickly. My customers are delaying payments to me, right? So, I need to now start bridging that gap. So, from that perspective, liquidity management has become one of the biggest challenges. Uh,
Saurabh, you
yeah.
talked about overload of information. So, there was too much. Nobody knows, where is this pandemic heading for. We started with a 30-day lockdown, then it got extended. Now it's unlocking phase. So, how did you maintain, and what was the source of information for you, and how did you cascade it? Which of the information to take, which is not to take, and then percolate those information in the business decision.
Yeah, that's a good point, Noida. And I think what we initially saw, right, because of either uncertainty or just an overload of information, when the salespeople were going out and talking to their customers, right, the customers would always tend to push things out, push the decisions out, because they felt, this is a very temporary thing. The government came out with initial deadline of, going into lockdown towards the end of March, and then, saying that middle of April is when we relook. And people started expecting that middle of April is when we may open the economy up, right? And the customers started saying, okay, what, let's talk about it in the middle of April when we'll go back into our offices. And we are now, towards the end of August, and really we've not been going back to the offices. We're still sitting at home, right? So I think that overload of information, that uncertainty became a hindrance to everyone, right? I think what has helped me personally is a couple of things. One, we have a really good team of economists within the company, and they've really helped identify what segments of the industry will look better, what segments will struggle, what segments are really having a hard time, right? So it just helps overall as a business, helps us focus on where to divert our energies. The second piece is just what we do as a business, right? We provide a lot of intelligent solutions to our customers, and we have been using it, but I think in this time it's all the more important that we rely on that information. So we do for example, credit assessments on a lot of different firms within India, and we get that sort of information from companies abroad as well. That becomes very critical at this point, because when I look at those reports, when I look at those credit assessments that we do, it just tells me whether this particular customer is in an industry and that may or may not be going through a very hard time, and what is the status for the customer in itself, right? And whether I should focus my energies on doing business with them, or maybe look elsewhere. Right. So I think those couple of things really help me understand, and as a business also, for us to understand where to look at, where to focus our energies, because resources are always limited, right? And we want to make sure we make the right use of those resources. So I think those couple of things really were helpful to me. Not I appreciate not everyone has that kind of insight, but for me, because of the kind of business we are in and the kind of economist team that we have, it really helped on.
So you are in a lucky spot, Saurav. A
I
lot
am.
of people will envy you.
Yeah.
So I wanted to understand one thing, that you spoke about cash being the king at this point of time. So obviously collection is an important part. So how Dun & Bradstreet is managing collection and relationship. How you're managing both to go hand in hand.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, right? You need to find the right balance. I think everyone understands now how important cash is to run your business. As I said, right, before the focus could have been more on revenue, but now the focus is absolutely on cash. Um, so what we've done is, obviously one of the things we did was to increase our touch points with the customers. Earlier when we may have started reaching out to customers, if it went over significantly over the due date, now we've really increased the touch points to make sure, we are in front of the customers and, making sure they have an understanding of the expectation that we have from a collections perspective, right? And there are two, three things that we need to look at there, right? One obviously is my collections that I knew will slow down immediately after the pandemic hit, and which is where we started relying a lot more on the touch points that we started doing with the customers. The other thing that we did was just get the sales force on the same page, right? Because I understand from a sales force's perspective, the critical piece is to go and get the contract signed and get the next next chunk of revenue. But without the cash coming in, that revenues becomes a little moot, right? So I think that was one important thing that we did. Just talk to the salespeople, got them all on board, saying yes, relationships are very important, and we continue to keep that as a priority. But now cash is also important, and we need to talk to our customers in a way that they understand our requirements and how we expect the cash flows from them. Right, so that really helped because the salespeople understood our position, and helped bridge the balance between how much we push our customers from a collections perspective and how we also maintain the relationship.
Sort of my next question would be that, there is a lot of uncertainty we are all facing, but there is also, unlocking is happening, economy is coming back. So what if I ask you for a few of your top priorities in short term and long term? What would that be?
I think one. At the risk of repeating myself, the top priority for me will be looking at the liquidity, and managing that, right? I talked about a bit about cash flow management in terms of the collection side. I do also need to look at it from a vendor perspective, right? And we do work with a lot of small and medium businesses, who are partners for us and provide us valuable service. I do need to keep that in mind because we are a large customer for them, and I can't really be delaying payments to those customers, right? So I do want to be mindful of that and make sure that those small and medium business enterprises are paid on time so that they can fuel their business. I think the second piece on that is to look at some of the other requirements around real estate, travel and entertainment, those kind of things, because we are not exactly in office right now. I'm not really using real estate to the extent that I was using before. So we've done some negotiations with our landlords to see how we can better manage that. Capex is one thing that definitely needs to be looked at, and this is more a short-term as well as medium-term requirement, right? Because we had certain plans for the year, for the next couple of years, but now we do need to rethink as to how we look at it, because the pandemic has given us an experience that we did not have before, and now we need to start thinking about digital transformation, cloud, those kind of things a lot more than what we would have thought of before, right? So I think that's probably going to be the topmost priority. Secondly, I think from a slightly medium-term perspective, I'd say questioning everything, right? We can't take anything for granted now. We had certain plans in place, which now need to be questioned as to whether in the current scenario and what sort of effects we'll see going forward, whether those plans make sense, right? And you really need to be agile from that perspective, right? You just need to be able to move quickly, replan or look at different scenarios and see what may work. And if things don't work, make those decisions quickly and move away and try something else. I think so. Just sort of looking at the plans, being a little agile. I think that needs to be very, very critical as well. And I think finally, people are an important piece of being part of the business, right? Given the current scenario of for the most part, a lockdown, people working from home, working remotely. The conversations that you are having is basically through Zoom calls, right? You're looking at a screen rather than looking at a person. So I think that becomes all the more important. The engagement with the teams, across the company becomes a lot more important. I think you may have to risk over communication rather than under communication. So it becomes important that you're in constant touch with your teams, how they're doing. Um, I think this is sustainable for some time, but it may not be sustainable. The work from home piece I'm talking about, right? It may not be sustainable for a prolonged period. And it has become an era where you're expecting people to be accessible, for a large part of the day, almost 24/7, and that creates problems of itself, right? So I think that piece is something that, as leaders, we all need to consider and make sure that the teams are in the right frame of mind. We're not facing burnouts, and just make sure what's critical is the focus, and if other things can take a bit of backseat because the time is limited, right? And the well-being of our people is also of paramount importance. So I think these 2-3 things I think are definitely priorities from when I look at the short term and the medium term as well.
One quick question on that. That you said we question everything, and which was taken for granted is not. So there's a lot of go-to market. I mean, being in marketing, I would ask this to the finance director. So if there's a budget which has already been assigned for go-to market, or maybe for an IT infrastructure development, how do you see those, and what kind of decisions have you made? Any change of decisions on those parameters in the last few months with the pandemic hitting us?
Yeah. So, Noina, as I said, right, I've been lucky to have a team of economists who's guiding us through this. And what we've done is, I think, look at that in terms of what areas to focus. And honestly, we've not said that our go-to-market now needs to either take a back seat or we look at it, as a way to, save some operating expenditure, right? What we wanted to make sure was we do the right thing right now in terms of where our focus should be, and if it means that we need to focus our energies better on go-to-market, then we do that. One of the things that we've done is actually brought in a few more products that were available within the Dun Bradstreet family, in, let's say, for example, North America or the UK. But we brought those products to India now because we do see that need. But also given the fact that right now the business to an extent is a little slow, right? We just felt it would be the right time to bring those products in. And I'm not saying this was an afterthought. We were anyways thinking of getting those products into India even before the pandemic hit. But I think the timing worked out, and the focus and energy that we put in on bringing these products into India really helped, right? So from that perspective, we made sure that we have the go-to-market strategies in place, the budgets in place to go out there, talk about our new products, talk about the new use cases. So definitely, I think one thing that we did focus on, instead of thinking about slashing some budgets there, we actually thought it may overall, let's look at what can work and focus the resources there. I think one other thing that we've done, just to mention in terms of customer touch points, which sort of goes hand in hand with the go-to-market as well, is having just a team of economists guide a lot of these customers, right? So we've done a few webinars talking to our customers, keeping them engaged on what we see as some sort of green shoots of recovery, some areas where we see recovery, or some industries where we'll see growth, and where how the customers can engage their customers and look at their business from the insight that we are able to provide. So I think those couple of things really helped keep the current customers engaged, and also look at new customers to be to have a conversation with.
Sort of would be my last question. If there's one mantra that you want to talk to your peers about as a finance leader that you would you would maintain and you would follow in the for the next maybe 4 months till we complete 2020 or towards 2021? What would be that?
I think in the short term, it will really just be focusing. I mean, I can't really say there's one mantra, honestly, but focusing on liquidity management that has become paramount. But also staying very close to the business. That and as CFOs, you usually do that. But now, I think given the situation we are in, the business will definitely benefit from the insight that a CFO is able to provide, how he's viewing the business, how he's viewing the economy. So I think, from that perspective, imparting that insight and also, on the other hand, learning from what the teams are seeing outside from a customer perspective. So, being very close to the business is also very important. And I think people, as I said, I can't stress enough how important it is to, just be close to the team, just make sure that everyone is in a positive frame of mind and keeping them motivated. I think very important right now.
Thank you so much, Saurabh, for your time today morning. And thank you so much, all our viewers, for watching us. We'll come back with another episode of CFO Club very soon.
Thank you, Naina. It's great to be here.